and I decided I wanted to know about Shias, this relationship would prove very instrumental to me. So I started trying to learn more about Shias after hearing that how dangerous and how kafir and how bad they were. So I wanted to learn more. I came to find out that this same brother who I thought was the Sheikh, Dr. Kareem Abdul Ghani, Sheikh Osama's father, I found out that he is a Shia. So what I used to do is, everything that Ahlul Sunnah would tell me about Shias, I would take it to Dr. Abdul Ghani. Anything that they said to me, I would go there and tell him what they said. I would also watch him very closely. I mean, as an example, they told me that Shias have a different Quran. So when I went to his house, when he wasn't looking, I took his Quran. I took it back to my house and I compared it to the Quran that I had in my own home. And I saw that it was identical. Of course, I took it back to him. I didn't keep it. I took it back to him. Another time they told us at the masjid that when Shias finish their prayer, they say, Khana Amin, Khana Amin, Khana Amin. Amin is Jibra'il. That Jibra'il did khiyanat. That Jibra'il was treacherous. That he went to Muhammad instead of Ali. So when I would hear these things from Ahlul Sunnah, immediately I would go to the Shias and ask them about that. You know, for instance, with this Khana Amin, when I went and prayed with them, when they finished their prayer, I was listening to hear what they said. And surely I heard them say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So I could see every time something was brought up at the masjid against Shias, I would take it to the Shias. I asked Dr. Abdul Ghani, you know, they say that Jibra'il made a mistake. You guys believe that Jibra'il made a mistake, that he went to Muhammad and not to Ali. Brother Kareem made a very beautiful remark. He said, if angels could make mistakes, which they can't, how did this angel make a mistake between a 40-year-old man and a 10, 12-year-old boy? I mean, I found with all of these things that Ahlul Sunnah would bring up in the mosque against Shias, that they were slander. And in fact, they weren't the truth. That in fact, Shias were very much Muslims, not quite as dangerous or evil as they were made out to be. And in fact, most of the things that we were hearing in the masjid against the Shias were lies. So this had a very deep effect on me and spurred me on to study more about Tashayyu. For a long time, I didn't want to be a Shia or a Sunni. I wanted to just be a Muslim. But if there's something that definitely changed things for us, was when I was given Kitab al-Irshad by the Abdul Ghani family. And I began reading it. When I got to the section on Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, I was flabbergasted, stunned, shocked to find out that Imam Hussein had been surrounded at Karbala and killed. I couldn't fathom it. I couldn't believe it, that the grandson of the Prophet, whom even as Sunnis we learn that Prophet loved him so much, that the fact that he was surrounded and killed by Muslims, it shocked me. So this I had to go to the masjid with. And I went to the masjid and I called the sheikh and I said, Sheikh, you have to explain this to me. What happened at Karbala? This is the Sunni sheikh of the masjid. He told me, brother, Islamic history is a black and bloody history and it has no relevance to us today. Don't read it. Being a person who had studied the writings of Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey is like a prophet to Rastafarians. Marcus Garvey has a famous saying where he says, a people without knowledge of their history is like a tree without roots. So when this Sunni sheikh is going to tell me that Islamic history is irrelevant, has no relevance, it's black and it's bloody, don't study it, an alarm bell went off in my mind. I felt that he was trying to keep me away from something. And so this pushed me in the direction to study more. I still tried to sit on the fence, but a time came when Dr. Abdul Ghani made it very clear to me, you're trying to sit on a fence that isn't there. There's no fence. You cannot comfortably exist between these two schools of thought. You either make your wudu in the way that Quran has stated it, or you don't. You either make your salat in the way that Prophet and his Ahl Bayt have passed that on to us, or you don't. You either do things this way or that way, but there is no in-between way. This put me in a position where we had to choose, but it also put me in a position where I made up in my mind that I'm tired of people telling me this or that. So certainly because of Tashayyu being more logical, having more reasonable answers, in addition to the irrefutable proofs that exist in Quran, in Ahadith, in history, we became a Shia. However, that thirst for knowledge had been ignited now. I had been through this period where running between the Sunni Masjid and the Shia center and talking and asking and investigating and perusing and studying. Now I decided to myself, no, I won't be led astray anymore by this person or that. I want to go and study for myself. And so this is what opened this chapter.